raise hand feature. John, why don't you get us started?
All right, Coach, congratulations on the first win at home. The hustle from the team tonight, I counted, I think, 7 players who played all 90 minutes, and Hannah in particular just never showed tiring. Could you just talk about the effort tonight from the squad and what you saw?
I think I think he can vouch for that. They had a very heavy week already. Like we agreed upon just making sure that we get or we use these 6 weeks as the building blocks for the rest of the season. So I think even with the board, the people, everyone that was involved, we make the agreement like let us build on training sessions. Every game we just look at what we can get. I think that was the agreement. But then I think just look at the first 30 minutes. That's just a nice way of playing. I think we were all over the place. I think if you look at the end of the game, you have at least 18 shots on goal, of which, in my opinion, we could have scored at least 3 or 4. I think it was also a bad call on the offside. It was not really offside from Brecken. So I think these are all also a very small part. And we talked a lot about attitude. I think it's I refer again to the NBA coach or the basketball coach that said like, hey, is it attitude or technique? And in the moment where we are at the moment, it's more about attitude and just making sure that the attitude gets us as long as possible into the game. And I think that's what they showed. I think not only Hannah, but also like we shifted into a 4-5-1 formation in the last 15 minutes just to make sure that we had a good hold of the midfield area. And then you also saw that Anna, Kale, those were players that really wanted it. I think we saw a team today that really went onto their efforts, like really went into red zones a lot. I think that's a nice thing to see looking at where we are in our process. We're 2.5 weeks together at the moment. They're working very hard on training. Like we said, everything that we do right now is just nice in terms of games. Every point that we can get, it's a nice point. But we're looking forward to playing on in the competition again, and that's the main goal, obviously.
And this somewhat echoes what you just said, but it was good to see you high-fiving, giving hugs. There was a really good atmosphere down on the pitch. Can you tell us about just what that locker room's like tonight? And do you expect a big bump from this Summer Cup game?
I'm someone that this may be also my weak spot, but I'm also each and every time like the first thing I told them after the game is just imagine like I'm someone that wants visuals on everything. Just imagine us playing 60, 70 minutes like we did the first 30 minutes. If we can get ourselves physically, tactically ready to play another 30 minutes like we did the first 30 minutes, then we can kill games and win games and just take it easy. I think now the second half is really not good. I think we just kept on running behind everything. We had to shift into a more defensive formation. Whilst I think in my first interview, I told like I want to press high. I want to be that coach that says like let's go on the box and let's go all in. But obviously, we saw after 70 minutes like hey, we're just not up to the level anymore. I think that's just something they have to be conscious about. Like we have a game again in 4 days, then we have 2 good weeks to prepare ourselves for whatever come next. And I think our remarks was like this is a great victory. We have to take it, but we just have to make sure that the next one is even better. Like so like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% each and every game. We need to add those percentages on training, on matches, and that's how we grow as a team. And I think looking at the hugs and everything, I think there is at the moment they're committed. They're very committed to what we're doing at the moment. I didn't hear anyone complaining. Maybe just don't complain to me. Might be as well. Would be smart from them. But no, I think like they're all buying in. They all want it. Obviously, we have a very young group, so it's more of like if you can explain them why we're doing certain things, you get the buy-in. And if you get the buy-in, you have games like this. I think we had a full 16, 17, 18 players that really wanted to win today, and that's just something that we like to see.
Last question for me, and I apologize if this has been widely communicated, if Caleb broke the news on it or something, but I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, do you get much information from Macy's camp? How is her injury? What's the extent of the injury, and what we can expect to see with Macy?
No, yeah, I think we're in good communications with them. I think immediately when we saw the action, also we took our responsibility. We got in touch. They immediately also gave the feedback. I think Macy is doing well at the moment. The day after, everything was calmed down. Obviously, I don't have a medical background, so they were talking to me, but they just assured me that it's all okay. She will probably not play in the game that they'll play tomorrow, but they're making her ready to potentially play a third game. And when you receive this kind of information, you feel okay. I also think like I'm also someone that when they're on international duty, let's them enjoy that experience. I'm just wishing them luck for every game, but once they're there, we just have to leave them do their job there and just not get too much involved. We have a great staff, medical staff, performance staff is doing their job. We got a good sign at the moment. Everything was positive, and obviously we're looking back at getting these kind of players back into the team.
You mentioned the offside call that maybe offside. There's no VAR in this competition, and there was a call for handball from your team, a couple from the other team as well. What's it like, I guess, just to have that difference?
I think it's also an emotional part of a coach. I have to be honest on that. I know I'm normally not someone that goes very hard into one-on-ones with referees. Like we all have a job. If I stick to my job, if they do their job, we're all doing our job. I might see things, they might see things, and that's just what happens. I think there is just like we're in like I think everyone saw how happy they were after the game, and that's like what I and our staff we want to give them. And there was like a feeling of injustice at a moment, and that's how you react. And I think that's an emotional reaction, but also like after the game, I went to the referee also just to give my apologies. Like, okay, if he didn't see it, didn't see it. If she didn't see it, all fine. Now we have to move forward. But that's also part of the game. We know that once we go into competition, that might just not happen anymore. So it's also mental something. I think it's sometimes good just to get that goal. Okay, it's called offside, but I think if you look at the 5 minutes we had after that goal, was just a whole revamp. We were all going again. The belief was there, and then you put in that third one. I think that's just very important.
And then just speaking of the offensive side of the ball for a little bit, 3 goals is the most this team has scored all season. What do you feel like was going well in the final third tonight, especially with Hannah getting
I think just a lot of movement. I think if you make analysis of the first 25 minutes, I think we nearly had all the players that were playing up front. We had them on the ball. Ali was playing well. We had Paige on the ball. We had Bracken on the ball. We had Hannah, and everyone was involved. And I think Hannah is also a kind of player. Like we've seen her struggle the last few months. It's been tough. She's putting in a lot of efforts, but it's also just a good thing to sometimes just touch a ball, and that's what we try to do with her. Like get her involved as much as possible. She has a job behind the defensive line, obviously, but whenever we can involve her, we have to involve her. And I think that was something like they got the touches in, they were playing. We had support each and every time someone was covering. We had support players underneath, and we were able to move forward. And I think that was the most important part. Like if you make a goal, obviously, like I will not say that Hannah would not have done the same efforts not scoring, but like if you score, you just on another level. Like you add up, and that's what you need sometimes. I think I praised her after the game last week. I think the whole audience, but obviously everyone does it right now. I think it's a player that just wants to get involved as much as possible. There's also a player on which you can rely for 96 minutes if necessary, and that's a good character. I think that's just nice to have.
I just want to ask you about that change of position, Ana Tejada. Well, we all see Ana playing as a center back, but now she plays as a midfielder. What was your main thought about what you want putting Ana in the midfield?
I think a few things. We have Kale, who's coming back from an injury. We also agreed upon with the performance staff and with the medical staff that in the second half of the season you need everyone. Obviously, she needs to play. Then we had an injury with Agnes Neberg, so she had an injury. Now we're just looking at all the options, and I think we after one training session, Anna came up to me and she also said like she was playing on the six. She said like, "Hey, my whole formation I playing on number six, so I'm happy to do it if the team needs it." I think if you see Anna playing in possession today, she's good. She's a link-up player between defense and offense, and very often playing as a defensive mid, but thinking as a center back helps. And that's also what we try to do going into a 4-5-1 formation at the end. I think we brought on Ellie Boren just to have that cover that we could get Anna a bit lower, that we win those second balls, because I think Kate and Kale were winning a lot of first balls, but we were losing the second balls. So that's what we told Anna, like get in front of them, get Ellie Boren in front of you, and get Zoe in front of you. I think that just like it helps that she's thinking as a center back. Like if you just look at her defensive movements, she's a center back playing on the midfield, and that helps us at the moment.
You mentioned, Coach, how big the first 30 minutes were in this game. You didn't get a goal, but I felt like there were a couple of moments where Paige Monaghan could have had probably 2 or 3, but she deferred on those first 2 goals. And as well. Does that just speak to kind of her as a captain, where she's okay setting up her teammates, finding the right pass, maybe passing up a good chance?
I think it also has to do with if you're able to get into the mindset where you are happy with scoring and the team scoring. I think that's just a very important part. I think Paige, we had a lot of discussions. We went into a dialogue with her. She also indicated like, hey, I want to do whatever necessary for the team to be successful. She never talks about her own. She's always there for the team. Obviously, I think if she scores 2 today, it wouldn't Like she could have scored two. I will say it like that. Maybe should have sometimes, but at least she was there in the zones where we needed her, and she was serving the other players. I think that's just a feeling you want to get to your team. Like, hey, you can rely on me. I'll go deep and I just serve everyone that's necessary. I think that's something that suits her at the moment. She's doing well, but obviously, like we said, we'd love to have her getting some goals as well.
Over the Zoom. Perfect. All right. Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you.